Hi, my name is Gypsy and welcome to my van, Gina. She is a 2005 Ford E350 high top, and I've had her for about 2 months, and I'm doing the full-time van life. Okay, before I introduce you to my van and show you everything inside, I'd like to introduce my friend Eric, and he has a box truck and he's the one that put this all together, and he knows a little bit more about the specs and I just know how it works, so I thought he could do the tour with me.
Sure, happy to do it. Hello van lifers. Let's go take a look. All right, well here we are inside. Jen, the first thing you told me you wanted was tons of storage, and you love to cook and wanted to have almost like a real kitchen, and you kind of wanted it to feel like a little efficiency apartment. Yeah. And we decided to use melamine, which is a really good surface for cleaning. It has its own challenges when you use it. It is heavier. Don't always want to use it in place of plywood, but because everything is just framed, melamine works pretty good. So getting into the storage, we're going to show you her big thing, and just walk it back, Jen, and show her, and I'll jump in. All
right. Yes, and I love the melamine because it's very, very easy to wipe down. And first of all, we have these little latches that they're kind of like, they remind me of an airport. You just push them in and it kind of locks everything, so when I'm driving, there's absolutely no problem with things falling out. One of my favorite things about the van is my hanging closet, because the girl's got to have her clothes hanging, some of them. And I've also got this nice mirror, and it does cover most of my body, so it's like a body mirror. I can check myself out after I get dressed in the morning. It's got this nice little light where I do my makeup, and I got my little wipes here and some of my makeup here. I also got my hats and scarves in here. My shoes are in this little wicker basket, and right below this, on here on the bottom, is my toilet. I just pull it out when I need it, and I actually have these pulled when I'm parked. And I also have privacy foam. What do you call these? Foam?
That's a 1/2-inch black foam core that you can get from an art store. It's nice that it's so thick that it actually provides some insulation.
Yeah, it does insulate a lot, because before I had these black foam insulators. I was using my little buddy heater all the time, and I don't need to use it that much in California because I have the insulation now. And I have these black foam boards also for the back two windows, which you will see in a little bit. Another thing that was very important to me is that I was able to remain very stealth, because I do live in my van and I do park on the side of the road a lot of the times. So having a gray curtain is very beneficial, because it kind of makes it look like a work truck, and I'm not attracting a lot of attention from the front of the van.
Anything you can do to not draw attention to yourself seems to be the best idea.
It was also very important that I was able to bring some of my books. I don't have all of them with me all the time, but I really like to read. I'm really into spiritual metaphysical things. And also I have my music for my ukulele here. And these storage bins have been awesome. I didn't think that I can hold that much stuff in these storage bins, but I have like 27 shirts in each one. And if you roll them up, another tip is to roll them up, and you get more storage, and it's just easier to pull out. And they all pull out. I've got shirts here, socks and underwear here, tank tops and shorts here, and then short sleeve shirts there. Up here is the long sleeve shirts. So I'm very organized, and I know where everything's at. That way it's easy to access and easy for me to get to. One of the most important things for me was having a comfortable bed. And so we went with 4-inch memory foam?
It's 5-inch
memory foam.
And it's a mattress you can buy already made. It comes rolled up. It's all compressed, and then cutting it into the size you need. So make sure that your whatever size bed you're going to have, that the mattress is big enough to cut. When you cut all the sections of it, it's going to cover everything you want. The best way to cut the memory foam like this, make sure it's made for a mattress, that it has dense foam, lighter foam, and 1 inch or 2 of memory foam on the top. And the serrated knife, like a electric turkey cutting knife, works really good. If you don't have that, just those long serrated knives, and you do like short strokes with it and get really nice clean cuts. We just wrapped these 3 panels. There's a 1/2 inch of plywood underneath. and then almost wrapped it like a gift wrap. It's not super fancy, but it ends up looking pretty clean and easy to power staple in the back, and then it has the structure of the plywood behind it.
So during the day, this is what I use basically, because then I have access to everything over here. And at night, it's pretty easy. It does take me a few minutes. I've got my computer back there. It's another trick, you gotta hide things. So it makes it look nice. And this folds out into a really full, big bed that's super comfortable. And that's perfect. You just kind of move these. And this was actually a full panel like this one, but I couldn't lift it, so we cut it in half so that I can lift it. It's super easy to do now. And these come out like this. And this goes up like this. Hold it out. This goes back down. It takes a little manpower, and these just slide right into here. And this one goes in here. And I actually have sheets and blankets in here, which I'll show you in a little bit. But it's a very comfortable bed. I usually carry 3 blankets with me. Keeps me nice and warm and cozy with the insulation. And I love my bed. I sleep very well at night.
So speaking of insulation, that's really important on a van like this. You don't want to be too cold or too hot, or get it as best as you can get it. So the nice thing about a window van is it's super stealthy. If you black out the insulation, so there's big panels, foam panels that were painted black, pushing up against the windows. It just looks black. And then did another layer of insulation inside of that, and then just covered that with a quarter-inch plywood, because you have to have some flexibility in the wood. And then you can attach to wherever there's metal still showing, and it's just a few screws to keep it in place. It's not hard. I left the carpeted areas. This was from when it was a wheelchair access van. That's why it had the high top. And then just dropped lights that were up higher. They come on when you open the doors, and they go off. You probably just saw them go off. And then I just did a melamine panel, and there's some storage for long poles for shade structure and stuff that we do behind that.
So storage was super important to me, because I've been watching van lifers for about 8 years, and all they say is storage is the most important thing. So I took their advice, and I've got tons of storage. So I have these huge bins, and they slide out. This is my most full thing, so it's got all my sweatshirts in it. But I mean, it's a huge bin, and I've got like something like 20 sweatshirts in there, which I don't know why anybody needs 20 sweatshirts. I'm gonna learn to size down as time goes on. And there's also one here where the wheel well is. You couldn't put it in the same way as that one, so we did it sideways. And this is all my pants.
More clothes.
More clothes. I love my clothes. And this last one is where I keep my water jugs. It's not completely full because I used one when I was out this week, but you can get 3 of those in there. That's just part of the storage. I mean, there's so much storage in this place. I asked for storage, and I got storage, so I'm very happy with it. All right, so more storage. It's exactly what I asked for, and this is my pantry. Not many people with a van have a pantry. And this is all my soups and dry foods that don't need to be refrigerated. I also have 2 butane stoves, and I did not want a fixed stove because I like to cook outside when the weather is nice, which it normally is in California. I'm very blessed. And I could cook here, or I can cook outside, and I'll show you the outside cooking area in just a little bit. And this is all of my bedding. It was important for me to have my bedding to where I had access to it with the bed out, because a lot of these aren't accessible when I have the bed out. But this is accessible when the bed's out, and I can get extra blankets if I need it, or extra sheets. I have all kinds of stuff in there. All right, also on the pantry cabinet, I didn't want a table inside. I thought I could just get like a little portable table that I can bring in here, but Eric insisted on making me a table in here, and I'm so glad he did it because I use it all the time to play my computer or to eat when it's cold outside. And it's very simple. It's just on a hinge, and you line this up, and you can eat. You could be on your laptop. You could do whatever you want, play solitaire, whatever your little desires are. And I really enjoy this being inside because, you know, when it's raining, you want to do other activities when it's raining outside. All right, and down here is all my battery stuff. I have a battery bank and an inverter. And actually, I'm gonna have Eric step in here and talk about that because I don't know the specs on things. I just know that it works, and I'm very happy it does.
So this is kind of stuff that you'll see. We decided to do as big a battery as possible. This was a battery from Renogy. It's the 200 amp hour, made to be discharged and recharged by solar panels. We only have one solar panel up on the roof, and it's the real thin one, so you can't see it, adding to the stealth. Did a big inverter. It's a 2,000 watt inverter, not much more, and it's a combination sine wave. It has the Renogy 30 amp charge controller related to it, and I just did as many 12 volt, or not 12 volt, as many voltage indicators as we could. I said 12 because it's 12.3 now. So it's charging. And then another big thing that I did, and we'll show you how it's wired, but is to have a solenoid. It's called a constant on solenoid. So while the engine is running, you're charging this battery, which is much more charge you would ever get out of a solar panel. And it only will kick on when the ignition is on. So you're charging the big house battery while you're charging your start battery, but when the ignition is off, they're isolated, so you won't kill your start battery if you happen to kill your house battery. So all that, just go big. Go big on your battery. You can't go too big. It's expensive, $400 or $500. That's one of the two most expensive things you'll do on your van build is your battery, but it's so important if you're really going to live in it. Do the bigger inverter, because if you go too small and accidentally plug something too big in it, you'll short it out a lot of times, and they don't have an easy way to reset it. Some will reset on their own, some won't, and they're not made to replace fuses easily on your own. So just go a little bigger than you think you'll need on your inverter, not spend much more money. This one, 2,000 watts, was less than $100 from some Chinese manufacturer that I don't remember. But just do a little bit of homework. You probably don't need like pure sine wave inverters. You'll see a whole spectrum of how expensive they can get. You don't need all that. Just get enough power.
And I've never run out of electricity, so this system works great for me. All right, and this is my kitchen, and I've got a dry sink. That means that I don't have any plumbing pushing water in. I just use one of these, and I really don't use the sink for a lot of things. I kind of use it to clean dishes and sometimes brush my teeth. So I really didn't want to have the hassle of having a sink pump, because that's just another thing that can break down.
And there's no holding tanks on this. We decided consciously not to do holding tanks. One, they take up lots of storage, which if you know how you're going to use it, fine. But a lot of people put these big tanks in for fresh water, gray water, black water, and then find out they don't really need it, and they needed the storage instead. So this is a nice deep sink for whatever you want to do with it. Even Jen said she could wash her hair in that, and it just drains straight over, down straight from a drain tube behind the tire. If it's someplace where you can just drain water into the dirt, fine, or you can put a catch basin and drain the water someplace, in a sink or someplace if you happen to be at a campground or something. But that's why we did it. And then just have another benefit of it is when you have a holding tank, the water that goes in your freshwater holding tank can get kind of scuzzy. When you have this, you're always going to have the freshest water. So I think it's a good system for van life living.
And I use environmentally safe soaps. So anything that goes out is fine for the environment. I've got more storage because that's all I wanted. That was so important to me. And on this side is my trash can. And that's underneath the sink. On this side, I have 3 drawers. And on this is all my cooking utensils and forks and knives. This is all my cleaning supplies. And on the bottom, it's kind of a mixture of all my stuff that I like to put out when I'm camping, like my stones and crystals and incense and stuff like that. And then it's kind of a junk drawer too, to kind of throw things in. And I've got more storage up here. And I've got my tea kettle up here. Some of the things that I want to be able to reach at night are up here. Like sometimes I get hungry in the middle of the night. I like sunflower seeds or like a granola bar. In this drawer, I've got cups, different types of cups, and these are like little soup cups and shot glasses. Always gotta have shot glasses. Also got my lantern in here, which opens up, which is really cool. Lights up. And I've also got pepper spray and a couple other things in there to keep me safe. And this one, more kitchen stuff like plates, bowls, and I've got some of my essential oils and a first aid kit in here, and pictures that I put out once I'm parked for a while.
So because Jen wanted to cook as much as possible in here, the sink does get covered with the cutting boards, providing all countertop. This is over 4 feet long of countertop space here. Works out really great. This other expensive item you're going to buy on your van, if you're going to live in it, is your refrigerator. You want to get the right thing that performs the right way, low draw as possible. Domestics are really popular, and we went with a winter because really for the only reason, the way that the hinge, Domestics generally hinge on the narrow side. This opens up on the long side. So we made access to there just because of space limitations. And this is running 24 hours a day on the battery system between running the van occasionally and the charger on top. This refrigerator can run 24 hours a day just fine. It's been on for months now. It works just great. So that's an easy thing to do, and it's real important that you do that. So while we're still here in the kitchen, she wanted to look as apartment-like as possible and less van-like as possible. So we did things like a backsplash. That's a real tile backsplash glass, and people are like, oh, isn't it heavy? Well, nothing's real heavy like this. Yes, it's a heavy material, but you're using so little of it that you're not adding tons of weight. She wanted a spice rack to look like a real kitchen. We have the spice rack. A couple things that we did to not be drawing from the battery. We wanted battery use to be going to the fridge primarily, and the roof vent fan. There's a couple of brands that you'll find. The Fantastic Fan. This is a Max Air. They're virtually identical to each other. They're nice. They are super important in van life living. As soon as you open it and start the van, it instantly, and if you provide some ventilation into it, cools. It doesn't heat, but reversing the direction really helps. This one will, you can adjust the speed to it. This is just about a must here to have something like this, and very easy to wire, just 12 volts going to it from there. So battery power primarily is going to the fridge and to the roof vent. Didn't even have lights hooked up to the battery. So we have all these little puck lights, and it was really important to Jen and me on my box truck camper. I don't like the bluish LED color. These I just happened to find. The nice thing about them, you just replace the batteries, AAAs, and you can pull them out and you have a flashlight wherever you go. If you just need something, you put these where you need them, on and off, they dim. Batteries last a long time. Worked for us, might not work for you, but a lot less wiring and zero draw on your house battery.
I really wanted this van to feel like home and be as homey as possible. And I wanted it to be light and bright so it looked bigger. So the floors were very, very important to me to have some kind of flooring and not just like paneling on the bottom of the van.
Yeah, and flooring is important. You want to, some people insulate, and that's important. This had an insulation mat already underneath it. I did plywood, 3/4 inch plywood. And then this material, they're linoleum rectangles you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot. They're pre-glued with just a sheet on the back. Super easy to put down as long as your floor is straight. Just line it up. Make sure that if you're putting cabinetry in, that the floor lines are lining up with your cabinets. But light colors like this white melamine and a light driftwood gray floor added a lot to feeling a little more expansive. So this is a cool thing that ended up being kind of a bonus item in the build. I hadn't planned on this, and I would really recommend that you over plan with graph paper to the 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. How wide you want your walk space to be, how high you want your countertops to be and your sofa to be. That's stuff you plot out before you start building. You're going to factor in your wheel wells and the curvature of the walls and everything. This ended up being just sort of afterthought and ended up being the coolest little thing. We couldn't push back any further with the cabinet, but there was this space down lower and wanted to be able to cook outside, and a lot of people do. It's really nice just to have this table. It's longer than most. It's almost 3 feet long. I keep a cutting board back here that stores, and here's 2 chairs, folding chairs that are just ready to go. You can open that, and a real nice, that I hunted a long time to find a nice folding table is this one. I'm going to find the brand name for you. It's Beckworth and Company. It's a bamboo table. It's multi-height adjustable. It can work as a coffee table or a dining table or a service table, and folds up smaller than anything I found that's as sturdy as it is. And it just happened to fit so well under here. Pull this up and put the chairs back in, and boom, you're ready to go in less than a minute to have a whole cook station, workstation, tables and chairs out. So when Jen told me what she wanted to do, she started looking at vans, and I said, if possible, try and find a high top van. She's looked at enough videos, I've watched plenty. I have a box truck. I would suggest a box truck. If you're going to really live in it full time, a 10-foot box truck gives you straight walls, easy to put like regular traditional cabinetry and stuff in, plywood walls and things. But if not, high top I would say is a must if you're going to live in it. This was a wheelchair access van, a transport van. It wasn't a lot of money. It was a 2005 E350. It's got the V8 in it. The difference in gas mileage of the V8 to the V10 is probably not much. People are always also asking about what's the gas mileage and how much weight you put in it. They're made to hold a lot of weight, and it doesn't change the mileage that much. You're going to get about 13, 14 on the highway, 10, 11, 12 around in the city. So the high top is, I think, a real must, and you'll see different shapes. You can tell that from here you don't see the solar panels that are pretty much necessary on a van, at least one. It's up there already, but it's just one of the thin ones. Access is super easy. We built a cabinetry that comes in. We wanted to make sure that there was enough room to get in and out of the van easy. I installed a couple of grab hooks, so as she's coming out, she could kind of support and pull either up or in. Worked really good. And we did a funny thing. You know, as you're stealthing it, you have to kind of read your neighborhood, read where you are. You can be, this is a good stealth van because it looks like it has windows, but of course they're all blacked out. But another thing you can do is give yourself maybe a company look. So we have magnet signs, and those just go on super fast. All right, so on everybody's mind always is how much a van is going to cost once you're finished with it. Of course, that's huge variables. You buy a Sprinter, you know, start at 50 and add a bunch of money into it, you can be $100,000 real quick. Jen had a budget between $8,000 and $9,000, and I'm like, well, that's a challenge. We found this van. It's a 2005 E350 high top. It was $4,500, had 115,000 miles on it, which is not super high. These vans can get up to 400,000 or 500,000 miles. Everything on it is super heavy duty if you take care of it. On your build, I would say budget, if you're not going crazy, budget between $3,500 and $4,000. That'll allow you about $500 for a fridge, $400 to $500 for a battery. That's a big chunk of it right there. And those are the two things you have to spend the money on. After that, you can start shopping around what works best for you. But figure if you're doing things on a budget, still between $3,500 and $4,000. So she's all in this van, the van and the build, for $8,500, which was not bad, right?
Perfect.
Don't leave me hanging.
Awesome. I want to thank you for going on the van tour with me. Please like and subscribe my videos. I'm going to be having lots of adventures in 2019. Thanks for watching. Bye. See you on the road.